So when carrying out my prelim task, I didn't do any research because we didn't have a lot of time and I wanted to get straight into it. Whereas with my opening, I did a lot of research and I spent a lot of time researching the conventions of horror movies and like different genres before I chose horror movie genre. And looking back on it and on my prelim task, I realised how important research is, as it helps you recognise the key conventions of, say, a horror film. If I hadn't done any research, I wouldn't have used like the red text for the credits in my opening, which is a very like popular colour that's used in horror movies. And I feel like the research is like the first stepping stone to a good quality and realistic film that looks like it's being produced by an independent or mainstream production company. I also learned that the pre-production must be very in-depth, because if it isn't, then it means that your overall piece isn't going to be as good as it could be. And like the pre-production makes the filming on the day a lot easier. The production checklist and the recce and the other things made sure that I had all the equipment ready. So on my production checklist it said on the day before to charge my camera, and so I remembered, so it said this, so I did it, and so it meant like the filming was a lot easier. By spending more time on this pre-production work, it meant that it took less time when filming because I knew exactly what shots was happening and what was happening when. And this meant that I didn't have to sift through loads of clips when coming to editing and like putting it on my computer. I also realised how important the storyboard was, and it's the most important pre-production piece of work, I think, because it tells you every shot, what every shot you have, and it has all the storyboard contains all the words of what the actor's going to say, the editing, so it's useful in the editing and the filming day, and it tells you how you're going to frame it and things like that, and what effects you'll put on it. So I realised it's the most important piece of pre-production work. And it just contained all the information I needed, making the filming on the day more efficient. When producing my film, I learned how different effects can have a really good effect on the video and make it more professional and look better and have a better quality. With my prelim task, I spent a couple of days editing, and I did the minimal editing because it was only a 30-second clip. But with my 2-minute opening, I spent a good couple of weeks editing, because every time I looked back on it, there was something else to change. And this is what I've learned from my prelim, is that I need to keep going back and getting other people's feedback to look at my work, and then I can change it. While editing, I learned how to fade in and out the music, which I learned in my prelim task, but I used it more to my advantage in the opening, because I faded out the main background music so that the police sirens and the news person can be heard louder, and I did this so that the music wouldn't be too loud and it would take away the focus from what the news person was saying. So I made sure it kept building the tension but at a lower volume, and I think this really worked, and it made the film a more realistic and more professional, because all the sound mixed together well and it wasn't all jumbled. In my prelim task evaluation, I said that I captured the emotions of the characters well, and again I feel this is really prominent in my film opening for the horror film, because the handheld camera was very close to Holly's face, and so you could see her emotions, and I felt this really built tension and made the audience sympathise with Holly, because you could really see her reaction to things. I also really liked the effect I put on the production logo, where it turned from pixelated to focus. I felt that looked really professional, and I liked the background music I used for that. It was quite techno, and I think that really went quite well. And I like how it faded into the other main background music called The Spider. And at the end of The Spider, I coincided the music to go with the text of round 1, and I felt that really worked well. If I was doing the project again, I'd film some of the shots again. There was this one shot where I looked at the letter on the floor, and as I stepped I tripped a little and you could see my leg, and this, although it's really small and some people couldn't even see it, for me it ruined my opening, because it was just a little bit of a continuity error, because it looked like then that Holly was holding the camera when I really wanted it to be like the police investigators. Another thing I'd change would be the shot where I filmed a table full of documents and pictures, if I had more time and I had the right resources, I'd make the pictures and the documents look more like a police proper investigation, whereas mine were drawn in a pen and the fingerprints weren't as good as they could have been because I didn't have any ink, so I just used some black marker pen. I wish I kind of had some more time for the opening, so instead of a 2-minute opening it was more of a 4-minute opening, because I felt like this would really, I had a lot more that I wanted to put into it, but I also see how the 2 minutes kind of is the same as a real world film where you literally have the 2-minute opening and then it starts with the next shot, and I thought it was really important that we actually looked at that 2 minutes and made the 2 minutes as best as we could. But yeah, other than that I think my film opening was quite good.